What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm sitting here with Dustin Zimmerman, and we are going to be knocking out the defensive line for the prospect video for the 2026 NFL Draft. Lots of fun guys on this list. Actually, this is going to be the bulk of most of our first rounds when you just look at guys that are doing first rounds and mock drafts and stuff like that. We will be doing one later on this year, but in a couple weeks. But this is going to be a lot of the guys you're going to see on those lists by anybody, PFF, Todd McShay, whoever. This is where they're going to start right here. Let me share the screen and get it going. All right, here we go. So talking about the interior defensive lineman before we go to the edges, the first guy on the board is Peter Woods. Peter Woods is going to be one of everybody's top guys for sure. Big time tweener. I love this stat of him because when I say tweener, it means he can play edge or interior defensive line. He had 122 snaps on the edge last year. Clemson used him as an edge rusher. He had a 13.5 pass rush win rate versus both offensive tackles and interior offensive linemen. I think his arm extension's good. He's a good shedder. He's a top 5 player in this draft to me. Like, if you just look at him right now, he's a top 5 player in this draft. He has some issues, standing a little too tall at times, but I'm basically going to nitpick the best defensive lineman I've seen since starting this podcast, and that's Peter Woods. There's no one that we've talked about since this podcast started that's as good as this guy.
Yeah, guy's an absolute winner. To add on to what he's done in college, back in high school, he won 4 straight state titles with the football team. So he's quite literally, before college, never lost, just kept winning championships. And when he was a recruit, he was ranked a top 10 player by On3 and 24/7, regardless of position. Just absolutely massive human and athlete coming out.
Yes, day one, when he walked into Clemson, he was a starter for them. Yeah. He is legitimately going to be able to, and he can play, like I said, nose tackle or all the way out at edge. He is him. He's one of those guys. So he is also on Clemson, who has one of the best defensive lines. We'll talk about his teammate here in a minute. But let's talk about another D-line that is just absolutely gross. Zane Durant playing for Penn State. One of the highest, one of the higher athletes, but smaller defensive tackle. He's only 6'1", 288. I like a little bit bulkier, bigger defensive tackles. So if you are going to be smaller, you should also correlate with pressures. And that's something that I didn't really see with Zane Durant. So I wasn't really happy with just if you just look stat digging wise with him. But I think he does do some good things. He has good first step. He loses his advantage by standing up, though. So he's 6'1". You need to stay down if you're going to do that, if you're going to be that tall, so you can get underneath pads and stuff like that. Penn State did a lot of stunting and moving, so that really helped Zane Durant because he can get after it that way, and he's a little bit faster. But it didn't help him when I watched him play technique. He lost a lot of stuff on technique, and I think that that's important. So I'm actually lower on Zane Durant overall based on the film that I saw this year, but he has the ability to, get better next year. But he's not necessarily my favorite guy on film right now.
Makes sense. He was an all Big Ten honorable mention, to put more on the positive side of him. And then, like you said, with his athleticism, he threw shot put, did weightlifting. He still owns his high school record for the shot put. Funny enough, which was 8th in state in 2020. So even though he set his school's record, he couldn't even win the state championship with it.
That is
but then he also has multiple siblings who are college athletes too. So guy came from a competitive athletic family.
Absolutely. And then going to Tim Keenan out of Alabama. He's actually one of my favorite guys on this list. I have him higher than, other places will. Tim Keenan is a short, stout, long-armed player. He looks like what you want in a run defender, if that makes sense. His run grade was a 90.1. He does a great job of just hankering down, taking on double teams, being able to two-gap. There are very few people that are really, really good at two-gapping, and Tim Keenan can do it. I think that, if he is not a great pass rusher, so that's why he'll be lower on other people's boards. But I'm a believer in guys that can do it on first and second down, get to third down, and then put on, sure, add the pass rushers, add the flashy guys later. But this type of guy allows your linebackers to run. He gives good effort. And I love effort and run stoppers. If you look at last draft, we had a bunch of guys that were that way, and those were much higher on the board than other guys that just come in on third down and are pass rushers. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely. And he was 14th overall on PFF as far as the interior defenders go. So obviously his work translated to the metrics as well. And then one quick shout out for him. He was also on the watch list for the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year and the AFCA Good Works team. So I always like to recognize people who are doing good work on the field and off the field.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that he has the upside to be a first rounder, and he probably is the same build as like a Tyleek Williams from last year, who I really liked out of Ohio State, much higher on our board, goes in the top for in the first round because of the style of play he has. So hopefully
Sure.
Tim Keenan gets the love he deserves and goes that high.
Yeah.
Christian Miller out of Georgia. I wasn't as excited about him. He's not my favorite person on tape, and I understand that he is mostly a projection. But you also have to have something like I want to see it, happen on tape a little bit every once in a while, because we can always project players based on like 5 plays that they have in a year. A lot of people are doing that with Christian Miller right now. He showed up on film with his ability to take on blocks, though. He extends well. He doesn't get knocked off balance much, but I don't think he's the same level as like ex Georgia players, if that makes sense. I think he's
Sure.
lower and he's kind of riding the fact that he's in that program.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he can develop into that, but I just don't know that I see the pass rush, if you're going to talk about that. I don't think he has that. I don't think he has the quick twitch ability. So I think that you just have to, I think he's lower on my list overall.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree. And to add to your point of you can look at 5 plays and kind of project highly, he did have his career high 5 tackles and a pass breakup against Notre Dame in the quarterfinal. So, having a good performance in a playoff game and being your best performance will obviously increase your hope and hype
For
in
sure.
a sort of way.
Yeah, yeah. The next guy is Rayshon Benny out of Michigan, outshined by his teammates, of course, because he did play next to Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, but he was the third guy in the interior. Athletic build. He's very alignment versatile, which is good. My problem, I had a couple problems. He didn't really explode out of his stance. This would make him make everything better if he just came off the ball, and it gives him the upside as a pass rusher because, like I said, he's athletic. Really solid at hand placement and extending, though, and that helps him in the run game. He had an 87.5 run grade, and he stifles one-on-one blocks. You cannot block him one-on-one. I really liked what I saw when they got like gap scheme stuff where they saw a team that pulled against them. He was capable of playing pulls where he shuffled over and still made plays and made tackles. He's willing to throw blockers like it's wrestling, and I like to see that a lot. But I just don't think he transitions well from the run to the pass right now. And I just want to see him be the guy before I can be like, he's a dark horse. Well, he isn't a dark horse because he played with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant
Right.
and didn't do it every single play like I wanted him to.
Yeah, his metrics are pretty similar to Tim Keenan, who we
Mm-hmm.
already discussed in terms of being pretty good or really good with the rush defense, 87.5, but then it takes a steep drop off to 70.2 for the pass rush. And then, like you said, being overshadowed, he's only had 3 career starts. So now he does have that opportunity to get those starts and perform and hopefully
Right.
live up to the level of his predecessors, who we already
Yeah, yeah,
mentioned.
exactly. Texas Tech gets one of the transfers that we had talked about on one of our other videos. This is Lee Hunter transferring in from UCF, number one defensive line transfer. Don't love that he regressed from 2023 to 2024 though. He is alignment versatile. He has insane stamina. He'll be on the field for every snap if you let him. And I think he's got a good motor. So at his size of 6'4", 320, having those things, I think that's important. But
No,
there are a lot of things that I don't like. He's one of the lumbering, bumbering, you know what I mean, types where he's not super athletic. He's not great at anything. More of just a big body to me that kind of gets in the way right now. And he has a lot of really nice plays on film, but he also played the most snaps out of anybody on this list. So
mm-hmm.
it's not like it's more of quantity over quality with him, and I just want to see more quality. Maybe even come off the field a little bit more so that you can stay really healthy,
Yeah.
moving, and then go out there. But yeah, so I don't think he's as athletic as I want him to be considered a second rounder even.
That makes sense. He was all Big 12 second team. Obviously, he's going to stay in the Big 12, making the move from UCF to Tech. Tech, again, loads up. He led the interior line on UCF in tackles, but again, a lot of that's quantity and debatably the other guys he was matched up with. So, maybe in a better scheme, he is able to make bigger plays, improve his metrics and his actual stats instead of trying to be out there every single play and have to make the play every time.
Exactly. Next up is Dominique Orange out of Iowa State. Iowa State was pretty good last year, and it had to do with guys like this. I think that this is all projection though. Dominique Orange was not the main starter. Played around 30 to 40 plays a game. As the season went on, though, he became more of the guy.
Yeah.
His alignment to me, he's alignment versatile, but I think his best alignment is at nose tackle. He's a really big, wide guy. Don't think he is great anywhere though. Much better as a run defender, but it says he's 6'4". I think that's a lie. I think he's shorter than that. On film, he looks much shorter than that. Seems to have good low center of gravity though. So he's a very strong player. Will just throw off his lineman at times. So that's really cool to see. He has a high motor. But he has one of the higher pass rush win rates, which is awesome
Mm-hmm.
to see. But he also came off the edge at times because they just moved him from nose tackle to edge all over the place. So I want to see him as a full-time starter. And I do think that he could be one of the best run stoppers come next season. But there's just a lot of question marks with him because he did not start. And I don't know if he has the overall upside that I want to see. But I think he's a good player.
Yep, I agree. I find it interesting on his metrics, at least, that his pass rush was actually better than his
Mm-hmm.
rush defense, with still an overall of 82.6, which was really good for last year. He was also academic All Big 12 last year and on the
Mm-hmm.
commissioner's honor roll 3 different times now.
Intelligent player for sure.
Absolutely.
Last guy on this list is Dante Corleone out of Cincinnati. He's another nose tackle, 6'1", 320. He also, as we talked about with Lee Hunter, regressed from 2023 to 2024. And I don't like seeing that because he's a much older prospect too. So you expect him to get better.
Yeah.
Didn't love he's good on taking on double teams, but he's not a quick twitch athlete. He doesn't have those athletic upsides. He's more of I'm going to get in the way. I'm going to two gap. I'm going to try to two gap. Not that great at it, and I'm going to take on double teams as much as possible. He seems though like a very high IQ player. He
Mm-hmm.
exchanges gaps well. He pulls when guards pull nicely, but he just doesn't have the athleticism to always get there. And that's
No.
kind of the problem. He's just a really intelligent player without that extra ability mentally ability physically to get to those spots and make those plays.
Yeah. I mean, the media still liked him. He was all Big 12 first team, according to the AP, and then the College Football Network has him as an All American honorable mention. So hopefully he can live up to the hype that he's created and can bounce back from a regression year. And
Yeah,
then, fun fact about him, no surprise with his last name, but his official nickname is the Godfather.
of course, right? I think though with him, I think he's a really solid day 3 guy. Like next year when we talk about this, because you're going to get a guy that can be a second player, rotational player for pretty cheap. And
Yeah,
I like those kinds of players when you're just talking about draft capital and stuff like that. So I'm not out on him. I just think there's some athletic issues there.
sure.
Let's go over to our dark horses. We only have one slide for regular players and then dark horses. There's going to be 2 of them on this position. Actually, there's going to be 2 on both positions today.
Mm-hmm.
The first guy we're going to talk about is Aaron Graves out of Iowa. I really like this guy. I really do. He sets the tone. The first play of the Ohio State game, he extends, crosses face, and makes the play. I really like to see that. He is really, really high IQ, but also good motor. Understands leverage really well, capable of following pulls down the line. He's one of the best at playing technique and just finding the ball. So technique, most NFL teams are going to make you play technique a lot. And so I just think that's a really good thing for him. Shoots his hands, puts him in the right place, works. Good athlete too. So this is a really strong guy that I just think where he's currently ranked, he is going to be much higher. He could even be a first rounder, in my opinion, at the back end. But, that is just he has got one of the highest floor versus ceiling talks we're going to talk about because he has the floor and then the ceiling is there if he can just go and make more like tackles for loss, sacks, and things like that over in the backfield. So I like him a
Absolutely.
lot.
And I like my favorite part about him is that he's a Lot Trophy preseason award watch list candidate, which basically, if you don't know, the Lot Trophy is to a defensive player who exemplifies their character and athletic abilities. And then he also won the Team Hustle Award last year. So, like you said, high floor, high ceiling, also has a high motor,
Yeah.
debatably the highest on the team according to his peers.
Yeah, possibly the highest in the class in this on
Yeah.
this position. So I really do like that. And then I think
Yep.
there's and I put 2 on here because Caleb Banks was one of my favorite guys. And then I started watching things, and everybody is like, "Oh, Caleb Banks, this and that," and I'm like, "Whoa, hold on a second," because I think Caleb Banks is like a mid first round talent.
Yep.
That's not being said. Like I think most people are like, "Oh, he's a second round, high second round talent." Like I think he is possibly the number 2, like 2 defensive tackle off the board type of guy. He's highly athletic. He has quick twitch, which is something that is hard to find at this for this position.
Yeah.
Just has strength to chunk people. Go watch the A&M game from last year. He just chunked players on your team. Sorry. He's just a grown man. He's 6'5",
And
325, grown. He's alignment versatile. He played edge at times this last year. Relentless pressure on passes. But his biggest issue right now is his stamina. He
yep.
slows down throughout games. But I think
Yep.
he is one of the funnest chess pieces for a defensive coordinator in this class. And
Yeah.
I think Caleb Banks should be considered in like the top 3 of this position, all the way in the top 15, 20 players.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned his size and whatnot. When I was reviewing him, his PFF at least says 6'6", 329, which is just an absolute ginormous human. He reminded me of Desmond Watson, the one who was very popular last year, except minus 130 pounds because Desmond Watson was
and can
a
move
freak
at a
athlete.
much better.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yes.
to be that athletic at 6'6", 329 is still just understating what he can truly do. And like you said, unfortunately, you watched his film more in depth than I did, but I watched that game more in depth and I saw exactly what you're referring to.
Where he slows down throughout the game and
I meant the throwing our players around.
Oh, he definitely did that. No, he definitely did that. He chunked your guys a couple times.
They flew,
Yeah.
not on purpose.
Florida's going to have a really good defensive line also, and we'll talk about one of his teammates here in a second. But yeah, let's go over to the edge spot and talk about this edge group. One of the best groups we're going to talk about for any position, or like one of the best position groups in this draft class. Starting off, another Clemson Tiger, TJ Parker. He is the number 1 edge in this class, just like his teammate Peter Woods is the number 1 defensive tackle. I want to put something out there because this group is massive. There are multiple guys that are 270 plus pounds, not your outside linebacker types. These are hand in the dirt defensive ends, and I love to see that. TJ Parker is one of the smaller ones on the list, which is good to see because he does have that edge rushing, just freakish best pass rusher type of thing going on. He had 12 sacks last season, really solid, but I expect that to come up. He's playing on one of the best defensive lines in football, one of the best teams in football. 15% pass rush win rate. We like to see that. It needs to come. It will come up just because of another year and stuff like that. Really good hands, gets the offensive line off of him and explodes. Bend is one of his calling cards in pass rush, dips and does not slow his movement at all, which is amazing to see. He's a relentless pass rusher. He has a good enough bull rush to set other things up, and I expect him to be in the conversation for the number 1 player in this draft class.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you said, 11 sacks last year and 6 forced fumbles, which I don't think I found anyone in reviewing with more forced fumbles than that, which is, essentially imagine every other game this guy's causing one. That's what it boils down to, or averages down to.
Yeah.
And then with that 85.5 pass rush, he was a freshman All-American in 2023. So similar to his teammate we talked about earlier, a guy just came out and immediately made a statement.
Yep. Let's go on to the next guy, Ruben Bain Jr. out of Miami. He was the 2023 ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year. And he had a down year, 3.5 sacks in 9 games. I think a lot of his like overall hype is from his freshman year and what he did there. But I'm not nearly as high on him. He kind of feels like a tweener. He's 6'3", 275, massive dude. Has more interior defensive line in him than most on this list, in my opinion. But I just think I wanted to see more speed in his pass rushing. I think his size actually hurts him.
Yep.
Mostly going to win with his strength, not his size, or not with his speed. And there's just so much raw upside, but no, they have not tapped into it correctly, in my opinion, yet. And so I think his pass rush arsenal is just kind of low. And there's other guys on this list that are legit pass rushers and also young. And I'm just gonna bet on them over him. He's still in our top five. It's not like
Yep.
I'm dropping him out of the top five of our guys, but Ruben Bain just didn't. His this year and his freshman year put together, I didn't think he was a top 15 pick.
Sure. I
So
think one caveat to note is that 4 snaps into last year, he injured his calf.
right.
And we don't know the, behind the scenes of how his recovery was going, how much they were limiting him. To any NBA fans, they may have seen what happened with Halliburton, where if you do try to push a calf injury, you
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately run the risk of tearing the ACL. And a guy his size tearing an ACL
Achilles.
Achilles. I completely misspoke. Yes, Achilles. Is going to be a very hard recovery for when you put that much mass. It's a ligament carrying that much mass behind it.
Right.
So I'm hoping he can bounce back to his freshman. It doesn't, or his freshman stats. It doesn't sound like his injury was anything too severe. Hopefully he's not injury ridden all year though.
Right. Absolutely agree with that. Next guy is Keldrick Falk, out of Auburn. This dude is a unit.
Yeah.
Absolute unit. 6'6", 280. And I don't think he's fully filled out. Like, you watch him on film and you're like, there's more room. And that's scary. It is absolutely so scary. He is built like a top 10 pick, in my opinion. The length is insane. He's currently 19 years old. Like, it's just, he's a freak. He is a top, like, I put him above Ruben Bain right now. Plays the run better than any 19-year-old you're going to find. Good extension, solid technique, strong specimen. Just strong. And as a pass rusher, he uses that length and strength to move offensive linemen off their spot. Sack numbers are going to increase. I think it's close to 15 type of numbers. I think he has that type of not floor, but I think that's about where I would put him. If he goes above that, he's a top 10 pick for sure type of thing. He just uses his athleticism right now to create pressure. And so if he can develop a pass rush arsenal like I expect him to, he just is going to be so much better. He's got that natural slipperiness because he is such a slender build that I really like. And I love the fact that he's a multi-year contributor already. He's 19 years old. He's already been 2 years of contributing on this team. Nuts.
Yeah, 8 career sacks, 7 of them coming last year with the forced fumble also, and only being 19 years old. Like you said, 6'6", 270, so he may still grow some more. And with his level of athleticism already, he's obviously an extremely exciting prospect and scary, depending on who you're a fan of.
Right. The next guy is LT Overton out of Alabama. He is a transfer in from Texas A&M originally, and I just don't. It's all projection. Everything with LT is a projection thing, because he was a 5-star coming in. He hasn't truly had an opportunity to play at Bama. He has 3 total sacks in 3 seasons. So it really comes down to what he can do this year. He has the build and athleticism to be amazing, 6'5", 283. But there's just a lot, that comes with not playing and stuff like that. And do we think he's good if he isn't getting on the field type of thing? Doesn't plays most of it with strength right now. He's not the fastest or quickest player. So I'd like to see him either slim down to 260 or add weight and play defensive tackle.
Yeah, he was one of those members of the illustrious A&M's 2022 class, highest ever, in which 70 or 80% have transferred or been kicked out of schools. Shout out Chris Marshall. So it's just, everybody was obviously excited for the entire class, and a lot of them have kind of burned out, and he's unfortunately one of those ones that not burned out per se, but just has not lived up to that unanimous 5-star hype he came in with.
Yeah, exactly. The next guy, another SEC player, Tyreek Sapp out of Florida, who we talked about his teammate Caleb Banks a second ago. Another massive edge, 6'3", 272. Sapp is one of the best run defenders in this class. He is an insane base. He is, doesn't allow himself to get moved off the line of scrimmage. Almost another defensive tackle, if that makes sense. But with way more athleticism than any other
Yeah.
DT you're going to find. Does a good job of holding his gap and also exploding to the ball when it cuts. He has been asked to play defensive tackle, which I thought was interesting when you have Caleb Banks and you have Watson and you have all these other guys.
Yeah.
But he just is really good against the run. So they're just like, hey, we need our best guys in there. His age is an issue, though. He is 23.8 when he will play his first snap in the NFL based on if he gets drafted next year.
Sure.
And he's a below average pass rusher. So you're betting on him as a run defender. But at edge, you want that pass rush upside. I will take run
Right.
defenders on the inside, not on the outside as much.
Yeah, no, definitely. 88.7 rush defense is awesome. 82.2 pass rush, and already being his age, like you said, is not as awesome.
Yeah,
So
right.
needs to definitely improve that pass rush to really make a statement moving forward.
I was so surprised that both LC Overton and Tyreek Sapp were ranked higher than this next guy, Danny Dennis Sutton
I
from
was
Penn
too.
State.
I was very surprised when I saw the rankings.
Yeah, 6'5", 272 for Danny. Um, biggest game he played was the Notre Dame game. He had 6 total tackles, 2 sacks, forced fumble, and interception. Showed up in all 3 playoff games with 4.5 sacks. And of course, they had another edge rusher last year in Abdul Carter, who was a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
Penn State has so many athletes, it's ridiculous. But Sutton is
Yeah.
no different. He is capable of playing the 3 technique, but also being like a legitimate third down pass rusher. I think his quick twitch is awesome. He is a top 3 guy for us. Like right
Yeah.
now, I would say that this guy is above Ruben Bain to me. He's not as good as Keldrick Falk because that dude's just so young, but I just love, like, you look at Danny and you're like, holy crap, that is a top 15 looking player. He
Yep.
is built differently. And I actually really like what he does as a pass rusher already, but he's still
Yeah.
raw and he flashes a lot because he tries those things. You know, like
Sure.
there's one thing to be a good pass rusher and then not try to pass rush with like all the tools. He
Yeah.
tries. He's not a great pass rusher, but he tries everything. He tries the spin move. He does the,
Sure.
all those things. So I really think he's one of the guys. And also, his biggest issue is just stopping the run because all he does right now is he doesn't play technique. Neither does anybody on the defense for Penn State because I said they move so much. But if he got that down, he is absolutely locked in top 15 player to me.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing the difference in his film versus his metrics, as his metrics don't tell the entire story whatsoever
Right.
if you look at them.
Mhm.
But, you know, like you said, he had Abdul Carter with him last year. This year, he's going to be running that show. I'm excited to see what he does with that. He's also all Big Ten honorable mention last year, and then he was also academic all Big Ten last year.
Nice. Yeah. Next guy's Mikael Kamara out of Indiana. And I'm just going to be very blunt. Like, it's really hard for me to bet on 6'1" edge rushers. We've talked about this last year. There were a couple guys that I just was like, hey, like they're outliers. And Mikael's not anything different. He is 6'1", which is an outlier. Probably keeps him out of the top, the first round overall. But he was one of the most productive pass rushers. He had 68 total pressures, which was first out of anybody in this class. He isn't the most athletic guy, but he makes up for it with relentless motor and want to find the ball. If if his first move doesn't work, he's going to keep fighting. He's just going to try to find a way.
Yeah.
And he's another guy that was asked to play defensive tackle a little bit, but his run defense is good, but he still needs to improve his diagnosis ability, just kind of finding the ball and understanding what is coming at him. But I can't bet on 6'1" pass rushers all the time. So I think he's closer to probably a third or fourth rounder to me than a first, second rounder, like a lot of people have him ranked.
Yeah, he talked about, you know, being a little bit small in his motor. He was a lot impact trophy finalist last year, which we talked about with Aaron Graves. So high hustle, high motor, that kind of guy. And then he was also a semifinalist for the Bednarik Award. And like you said, his 88.5 pass rush was awesome to see.
Yeah, but right now he's actually in like our tier 4 of edge rushers, like much farther down. So we've got a couple guys that are still going to be above him on our board. That are on the next page. So let's get over to that page and talk about those guys. Bing. All right, there it goes. First guy is Derek Moore. He's actually in the same tier as a Mikael Kamara. His 23.4 pass rush win rate really stands out because it's one of the better of the group. Prototypical size, 6'3", 256. You know, now he can play stand-up edge or even put his hand in the dirt. But he's a late bloomer. 23.7 years old when the season starts next year. Was not a full-time player on a stacked Michigan team, obviously. Obvious, that
Yeah,
is what it is.
right.
This season should be an opportunity for him to really improve his draft stock. His strength has been as a pass rusher, though.
Hmm.
And he is basically right now a third down player only. Come in as a pass rusher at the NFL level, not in college, but at the NFL
Right.
level. Like right now, as I see him, he is just a pass rusher,
Sure.
and he can't play the run right now. So I think that that's something that we need to really improve for him to move up boards.
Yeah, to put that into a rankings perspective or to quantify it, he was 47th out of 804 on pass rushing, which is very good. Obviously, top 10, almost top 5%. And then his run defense was 528 out of 867. So,
Look, they match up on
bottom
film.
half.
The film matches with what you just said. They are the same.
So, to be able to quantify the analysis you are putting out there, very much quantified and very
Yeah,
much tracks.
exactly the same. Next up is David Bailey. He is leaving Stanford and going to Texas Tech, another transfer from Texas Tech that we've talked about.
Shocker.
Bailey is an outside linebacker size. He will be stand up. He is a 6'3", 240 pounder, pass rush specialist. 27.5% pass rush win rate, which is insane. Thank you. 20.3 pressure per snap. Only 192 pass rush snaps though last year, which I thought was low. I don't know what really, if there was an injury that, it was inconsistent to say the least. He should have been on the field
Yeah.
more. 39 total pressures because they don't have anybody at Stanford. And like we said, he's transferring from Stanford to Texas Tech. He's just right now at the NFL level. I feel like he's a situational pass rusher, kind of like Derek Moore. But this guy has more upside because he is younger, and in the right defense, you can kind of play him in the run against the run. He can drop into pass, but he does everything right when it comes to pass. He might be the best pass rusher in this class, but the worst run defender in this class, like at the same exact time. So
I believe it. He was second overall in pass rushing, so that tracks. And his rush defense was unfortunately a 59,
it was
and if you
terrible.
want the 724th.
Yeah,
So
terrible.
how much we just made fun of Mr. Moore for being in the 500s, he's dropped 150 spots lower.
Yes. Next guy, Oregon's finest, Mateo Uyunglele, 6'5", 270, massive dude. This guy, shouldn't be able to move this well and be this highly athletic for his size. He should have told his brother to play edge also. Just if I'm being honest, DJ should have probably played edge also.
There it is.
But it is what it is. Yeah, Florida State, baby. But he played. But Mateo had played in the B gap a lot, so he was a interior rusher. He missed, in some things like you just look at. I watched Ohio State game. He missed a wide open sack against Will Howard. That's not good. But there are some things he does well. He is a really, really good run defender. And he needs to improve with age, if that makes sense. Like I really love what he could be. It's just he's not there yet. He's got consistent technique, and he disconnects from blocks really well, gets off really well, and I like his getting after the passer, but it's just inconsistent, and I want to see more in him getting better. But if you're just talking about projections, I'm more willing to project Mateo over some of the other guys that we've talked about because I just think that playing in the Oregon defense and then also just like being such a consistent player consistent. He was consistent in the way that like he always made a big play in every game.
Yeah.
His best plays are some of the best plays we are going to see.
Yeah.
But he just hasn't done it consistently in the way of like every play he's doing it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. One thing I like to see is when the media and coaches are both recognizing someone being good. He was all Big Ten first team by the media and then second team by the coaches. So clearly he's getting noticed by everyone, and coaches are obviously planning to scheme around him as well, which is always a good sign for a prospect.
Yeah, I would project him as a first rounder. That's kind of where I'm at with him. I think that if he gets just that much better as he did from the year prior, he will just become a first rounder to me.
Slightly higher draft stock than DJ.
Yeah, barely, right?
Yeah, just barely. It was
I think
close,
DJ's in the NFL somewhere, right? Maybe. I don't even know.
Probably got signed by someone.
Yeah. The next guy is Cassius Howe out of Texas A&M, one of your guys. He did back up Stewart and Scorton last year.
Mm-hmm.
Has an opportunity to take over as the main pass rusher. Probably should have been the main pass rusher over Stewart on
Yeah.
passing downs last year, if I'm just
Mm-hmm.
being honest.
You're being very honest.
19.9% pass rush win rate, which is really good, but I just think he's a really smooth mover. Just
Yeah.
like, just kind of in and out, wiggle, he sets up blockers really well. Like if he's going to do an outside move, he'll go inside and then like just kind of wiggle out there, and then the same from the outside in. He's good against the run. I actually was really surprised with his run defense. He needs to add strength, but I think he's a good run defender because he is like I put my hands on the tackle, I don't let him grab me, and then I go. Like
Yeah.
I get off and I go to the ball. And I
Yeah.
thought that was really good. I want to see him as the main guy though. I want to see him against chips and double teams and
Yeah.
things like that he was not getting last year because you had the other two. And he played a really good game against Texas. So I'm guessing you saw that game. And
Unfortunately,
you can probably give a little bit of background on that, but he was one of my possible dark horses, but I want to see a full season as a starter before I'm like, that's a guy I want to put as a dark horse.
Yeah. I mean, this is a guy who's a veteran. He played at Bowling Green already for a couple of years, transferred to A&M. He just finished his first year. And funny you say you want to see him play more. A lot of A&M fans also wanted him to play more. Like throughout the year, it was like, who's Cassius Howell? He came as a transfer, good backup, and it was like, why is Cassius Howell not playing more?
No, he should have played a lot more.
Yeah, so I'm personally, both as a fan and as a just watching football, excited to see him get more play time just because he has such high hustle. And then kind of get to see with Coach Elko, his whole thing is being able to recruit and develop defenders and run a defensive scheme. He has a chance to do that, and Cassius Howell has a chance to really utilize that in terms of getting his draft stock up and kind of coming almost out of nowhere for the average fan. But for people who have been watching the SEC, he was kind of talked about more in the second half of last year.
Yeah, don't worry. Shamar Stewart might come back and get drafted also, so he might have a teammate of his getting drafted in the same class.
Does A&M get to count that as one of their first round draft picks for whatever selling point they have?
Yeah, I don't even know.
Does that count? You do it
know.
twice.
Next guy is R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma. He's an undersized edge, 6'2", 245. He'll probably have to stand up and play outside linebacker. Kind of reminds me of Jalix Hunt. I don't remember if you know him, but he plays outside linebacker and edge for the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll probably start this year, actually. But I just hate OU's defense. I just hate it. I can't watch it. I swear they can't stop the run. They put 5 DBs on the field at all times and like can't stop the run, and then they're getting gashed by Texas. Whatever. Not the point. Quick first step guy, uses his size to dip and leverage taller offensive tackles, which I thought was good. His pass rush, like all about quickness and finesse. Offensive tackles get more athletic though in the pros, so I don't know that actually is going to continue. But if he doesn't win with his first move, it's over, and I don't like that. So basically, if an offensive tackle gets his hands on, or if he doesn't get the spin move, he misses, he's going to lose. And I don't like to see that. I like guys that are going to be like constantly fighting for it. He's a stocky player, helps in the run game, but his specialty isn't. But run game isn't the specialty by any means. I just think he's a situational pass rusher right now, and he needs to work on his counters if he's really going to do that in the NFL.
Yeah, completely agree with all those points. He wasn't all SEC second team selection by the coaches, which is nice to see. And then with his name, that's not a typo. His mother actually said she named him R. Mason because they have the family name that starts with an R. And so, but she didn't want him to be basically a carbon copy name. So she just wanted to throw the R and then give him the unique Mason Thomas after.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I'll be honest. I always thought it was odd when I was like trying to find him. I was like, that's actually how you spell his name when I was like looking.
Well, yeah, I was trying to look into it more and I was like, I can't find him on anything. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go the real weird route. Found him on Instagram. And then it was the same thing. I was like, okay, now I'm really thrown off.
Right. Yeah.
What is the story? But yeah, actually pretty cool. Just family story.
Gotcha. The next guy is Trey Moore out of Texas. Trey Moore on everything that anybody ever lists says linebacker. Texas has him as a linebacker. I think PFF has him as a linebacker. This guy's an edge rusher. Like he edge rushed most of the time throughout his like career here. Shorter with an athletic build. Really likes using a spin move. I thought that was cool to watch. I think spin moves are one of the most fun moves a edge rusher can use. Don't overuse it because it's obviously offensive lineman will figure it out, but I like the scrappy type of players, and that's what he is. Constant hand movement, always moving his feet and pushing the pocket. He's good in the run game. This is where the bulk of the issue comes in, though. He just doesn't have strength to
Yeah,
play in the run game all the time. Maybe that's why he's a linebacker on everything. He stands too tall, which is bad for a guy that really doesn't have the strength to do that. He needs to stay low and fight, fire with fire, basically.
sure.
Colston Loveland took him for a ride 2 or 3 times. Like Colston Loveland just sent this man a couple times. So
Sure.
he's just another situational pass rusher. But I actually really like his upside because of the scrappiness and the constant movement and things like that. He's never going to give up on a play. So
Sure.
I like that part. So I think that he could develop into possibly a 3-down player, but he's got to get better at the run, stopping the run.
Yeah, he owns the UTSA records for single season sacks and tackles for loss, and then he was also 2023 American Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year, and then
But he's a
obviously a first
linebacker.
team All Conference selection. Yeah, well, PFF has him as edge now, so
Good.
good news for
They
you.
figured it out. All right, cool. Someone had to. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and then the next guy is Gabe Jockus out of Illinois, and he's just another big edge man. 6'3", 275. Played a ton of snaps last year, and he's a projection player right now. Not featured on third down pass rush, which I think is bad when you're talking about a guy that you want to possibly. Tom McShay has him in the first round of his draft, like type of thing. You have to be able to pass rush at this position. But he's athletic, but he's still awkward, if that makes sense. Like he's really athletic and he does athletic things, but he does it in an awkward way at times. Based on size, I thought he was going to be really good against the run. 59.4 run grade is not great. Not great at all. So some of his best plays are the best plays, though, of any player. Like it's one of those things where he has 5 really good plays and you're like, oh, let's project him. And it's like, well, with him, I actually wanted to see him just be on the field when he's supposed to be on the field on third down, rushing the passer, being able to stop the run correctly. But his big plays are, first and second down edge rushing and things like that. So he's just not a natural pass rusher to me right now. So he was one of my least favorite players I watched on film. And the reason I watched him was because I expected him to be better if we're putting him in the first round of mock drafts already. And that's just not what I saw.
Yeah, I definitely hear you on that. He is a lot impact trophy watch list
Mm-hmm.
guy. So like I said, I love the hustle, love the heart, love all that. He's number 20 overall player according to CBS's spring rankings. He was number 2 in the Big Ten last, or among the returners now, only behind Mateo, who we talked about just a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
But completely agree with all your points too.
Yep. There's just some things I want to see better. And right now he just doesn't do that. So that's my biggest problem with it is like we can project all we want, but he also has to show it on film at least once or twice. Like you got to give me more. If Michael Williams actually gave me good pass rushes, so I was like, I can project him in the top 15. I never saw that with Gabe Jockus, basically is how I'm getting at.
No, absolutely.
Last slide is going to be our dark horses. We got 2 of them because honestly, that was such a big grouping. I think we needed 2. And I almost didn't put one of them on here. Joshua Josephs out of Tennessee was the one I was like, all right, I'm questioning it because he is one of the most inconsistently ranked players throughout the whole the whole group. Some people have him in the top like 40, and then some people have him at like 110. And so I tried to like figure it out. If you just take his like average and where most people have him in like 80, 70 to 80, I think that's way too low. He needs to be a top 40 player. So I agree
Yeah.
with whoever has him top 40, basically. I also
Yeah.
hate Tennessee's defense. If you have Omar Norman Lott, James Pierce, and Joshua Josephs on your team, you play them together a lot, So that's the biggest problem for me with he just didn't play that much.
Yeah.
Projection with a ton of room to grow,
Yeah.
ton of room to go. First rounder when it is said and done is what I think he could be. One of the most natural pass rushers, insane first step, quick hands, quick twitch, bend. Like dude comes off the line of scrimmage and you're like, oh, he's moving.
Yeah.
He had the best run grade though, 91.4 out of this group.
Yeah.
So not only was he able to, as a pass rusher, have that upside, because he didn't necessarily have the sack production that you wanted to see. There was just a lot of like, oh, he came off really well. He got back there. pressure type of thing, but he never actually got home. Next year he will do that. He will improve those numbers a lot. So upside is there, and I think I want to see him as the premier pass rusher on the team because James
Yep.
Pierce was there last year. So without James Pierce, what will Joshua Josephs do? Hopefully he will become the guy I think he can be, which is a first rounder.
This kind of reminds me, if you remember from last year, when you asked me about Walter Nolan being a dark horse, and I was like, he's not a dark horse. He was like #1 overall recruit, blah blah blah. Joseph doesn't have near that. They are. Not, I'm not saying they're the same whatsoever,
Right.
but I do remember. Or I've been watching him, and I was surprised we got all the way to dark horse before his name was mentioned because the guy's athleticism's off the chart. And I think if Tennessee was using them properly, like you said, and we talked about when we were doing the playoff predictions and stuff last year, he'd probably be even more statistically evident on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he
That
should
term.
not. We shouldn't have to talk about him as a dark horse. Just like you said with Walter
Yeah.
Nolan. Walter Nolan's situation was he transferred and people were uncomfortable with him. Joshua Josephs has been at Tennessee. He
Yeah.
had, like really like some of the best plays in this class by far to
Mm-hmm.
me. So I just expect him to, take over
Yeah.
and be that guy. And that's what I expect out of him. So we'll see when the season comes around, of course. But yeah, Joshua Josephs at Tennessee. And then the other dark horse is going to be Eric O'Neill, who is leaving James Madison to go to Rutgers. He in his career, and I love his career actually. He played 2 years at Long Island, bet on
Mm-hmm.
himself, transferred up to James Madison, didn't go to Indiana last year, which
Yep.
with Kurt Cinetti and everybody else, which I thought was
Yeah.
interesting. Earned first team All Sun Belt honors, deservingly. Transfers now to Rutgers, who I think is going to be better than people expect overall. And against opposition in the Sun Belt, this dude is huge. I mean, just massive.
Yeah.
He's disruptive on every single play, always around the ball, constant motor, and he plays with that chip on his shoulder coming from that smaller school. He's in New York. I think he's out of Queens. Like he's like that. Like he has that personality on the field to me. I watch him. I'm like, oh yeah, he's got that like I'm an asshole kind of
Yeah.
personality. Like I'm gonna go and like I don't care how you feel. Like I'm going to punch you in the face, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I love that. He can rush inside if needed because he is one of the bigger guys. Like we've been talking about it with all these guys. I just think we're currently overlooking him because he went to a small school. But
Yeah.
after the move to Rutgers and another dominant season, he should be possibly in first round, early second round consideration to me.
Yep. Completely agree. And he's from Staten Island, so yeah, you hit the
Okay,
nail on the head with
perfect.
the
I was
stereotype going right towards it.
I was pushing for it.
And he did not play under Signetti though, so I too that he didn't go to Indiana. But I realized after he never actually played for Signetti. He
Oh,
only
okay.
played for because he only played at James Madison last year.
This last year, that's
And
right. That's right. That's my bad.
and
Yeah, yeah.
Signetti went to Indiana last
He
year.
actually
So
got recruited by Signetti. That was what it
I was about to
was.
say, I'm sure there was some talks and conversations, which
Yeah.
I was saying I was still surprised he didn't end up in Indiana
Apologies.
this year. But no, different Big Ten school.
Yeah. So super exciting players right here. I'm gonna stop sharing. That is the end of this video. We will, of course, be doing the linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties. That the DV video is coming up next. But tell us who we got right, who we got wrong, who you think should be the dark horses, who you think should be whatever. Because and also please add any players you think we should go watch and talk about because that helps us in our kind of being ahead of the draft and knowing these names because we're going to be talking about these guys all year long. We will be doing that other video. We'll be doing the 2026 way too early mock draft coming up. And then we're going to be breaking down every single conference, talking about all the different teams and predicting all their schedules, top 25s, and the college football playoffs because we're ridiculous and we love it. So
it's fun. You got to do something in the off season. All the major, well, I guess baseball's on, so baseball fans can enjoy that. But
I don't watch baseball.
College baseball's over, NHL's over, NBA's over. Obviously, football's been over. UFL even just ended.
Yep. There's not much going on at this time of the year. A lot of mock drafts. I mean, a lot of best ball drafts for us. But other than that, there's not much sports. We do watch NASCAR and stuff like that, but that's not that's not a big thing. We watch UFC. UFC 317 is coming up this weekend. So super excited. Ilya Taporia is going to knock out Charles Oliveira. So,
and John Jones has retired.
He has. Yes, absolutely. But we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Please, like I said, like, comment, and subscribe on this video, and we will see y'all on the next one.
Thank y'all very much for joining us.